Good afternoon. We'll get started in just a moment. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today with Lunch Break with the Rabbi. Today we will be discussing the concept of reading the Torah and why the Torah is read on Saturdays and what other days of the week when the Torah is read. To appreciate and understand the value and the reason of why we read the Torah, we first have to go back and understand the concept of what the Torah is, of why we study Torah. What is the obligation to study Torah? In the Shema, we say, Vishinantam levanecha, you should teach it to your children, v'dibarta bam, and they should say it, and it should be the words that they talk. I once heard a little, what do they call it? A little saying from an elderly fellow, an old rabbi once in Australia once told me. He says, the verse says, Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam. You will study with your children, and they will be able to speak the words in it. He says, Vishinantam levanecha. When a person studies Torah with his children, then v'dibarta bam, he'll be able to talk and have a conversation with his children. Studying Torah is the gateway to not only appreciating godliness, but also having communication with those around you. The study of Torah that the Torah tells us is so important, in fact, that we learn that the study of Torah to an extent is even more valuable than the action of mitzvahs. That one who is involved with and is occupied in his entire time in studying Torah is actually exempt from doing many of the mitzvahs. But over here, what is it with the study of Torah that's so important? And the mitzvahs that we do, as you know, you do a mitzvah, it's with your hand, it's with your money, it's with your heart, and so on and so forth. It's an action, and that action moves on. When one studies Torah, they actually connect their intellect with God's intellect. You actually become one with God. So the study of Torah is so ideal and so important and so intimate with the relationship with God. It is for that reason that we have an obligation to study Torah every single day. Not only study the Torah, but there's a blessing that we make before studying Torah, so we should know we're not doing it merely as an intellectual exercise. We are doing the study of Torah in order for us to connect with God in the greatest and deepest level. Now, what about the actual reading of the Torah in public? Why is that done? So interestingly enough, biblically, we do not find any commandment that in a regular synagogue they should be reading the Torah in public. The only biblical commandment we find concerning reading the Torah in public, not as a private person's obligation to study Torah or teach Torah to his children, but reading the Torah as we do in the synagogue, there's no biblical obligation for that. That obligation is merely, the only biblical obligation was that once every 7 years, on the Hakel year, the king would then read the Torah in the holy temple in front of all the Jews, men and women and children would gather to hear the Torah. Moses did not want Jewish people to go 3 days without studying Torah. He therefore instituted that every single Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat, one should read the Torah in the synagogue. This way, Jewish people should not go 3 days without studying Torah. So you have Monday, you have Thursday, and then Shabbat. Ezra then came along later on. This was at the time of the destruction of the first temple, right before the building of the second temple, where Ezra then instituted that they should also read it at Shabbos in the afternoon. And the reason for that was being that there were many Jews who went to work during the week and were not in synagogue Monday and Thursday. Therefore, they did not have an opportunity to hear about the Torah reading the week ahead. So therefore, they read a little preview of the next week's Torah reading by Mincha, the Shabbos before, is when the Jewish people were already in synagogue and not going to work, so everybody was able to hear the Torah reading. We also find similar things where the rabbi was obligated. That's where the custom of the rabbi giving a sermon came about, to teach people about the Torah, the people that were not there during the week, so they can study Torah. In general, a person has an obligation to study Torah every single day. But the actual concept of reading from the Torah scroll in public, that was Moses instituted, and it became a rabbinic institution that Jewish people should read the Torah in the synagogue every single Shabbat. Now you'll notice that sometimes we call 3 people to the Torah. That's like on a weekday or on a Shabbos mincha. On Shabbat, we call 7 people to the Torah because it's the highest level of holiness. On Yom Kippur, we call 6 people to the Torah. On holidays, we call 5 people to the Torah. Holidays that come out during the week, we would call 5. A holiday that comes out on Shabbat, we would call 7. And then we have the extra one, which is called maftir. The maftir, which today many bar mitzvah boys got, which that's a separate discussion on its own, but the maftir is the 8th aliyah. That 8th aliyah, that 8th Torah person called to the Torah, that was because there was a time where the Jews were not allowed to read from the actual Torah scroll. So what they did was they read from the prophets to be able to, they should not forget the custom of reading from the Torah. When that decree was nullified, being that they didn't want to forget the decree, forget the concept or stop reading from the prophets, therefore the Haftorah came in. The Haftorah is from the prophets about a subject that was in the actual Torah reading. For example, last week that we read in the Torah about the Nazarite, so the Haftorah was about Samson, the birth of Samson, and he was obligated to be a Nazarite. So there is always some type of relationship from the Haftorah, either to the time of the week, whether it's Passover, you'll read about Passover, the time before Rosh Hashanah, we'll read about Rosh Hashanah, the time before the destruction of the temple, read about the rebuke from Jeremiah to the Jewish people about the rebuke of the temple. But regarding of that specific time, that's what the discussion would be in the Haftorah. Now, because a person shouldn't just be called up just to read from the prophets, what they did was they gave him also the last 3 verses that he read, and that was called a maftir. Generally, that was given to a bar mitzvah boy. The reason that it was given to a bar mitzvah boy is because a bar mitzvah boy, especially back then, didn't have a birth certificate. They weren't sure of his age. And that aliyah is even able to be given to a child. So therefore, a bar mitzvah boy was given that aliyah. With time, that became, so to speak, a respectable aliyah. And the rabbi would then get that. For some reasons was because the rabbi was the only one that knew how to read the prophets. That's the same reason why the custom, which this is another interesting tidbit, how did it become the custom that bar mitzvah boys would be reading the Torah reading was because of the shtetl. There wasn't a person that knew how to read every single Torah reading. So they came up with a genius idea. If we teach every bar mitzvah boy 1 Torah reading, we will have every single week another person to read the Torah. And that's how it came the custom that the bar mitzvah boy practices the Torah reading. But there's really no basis for it in Jewish law that the bar mitzvah boy has to read the Torah reading. Absolutely not. It was just that this became the custom that there should be more Torah readings. The next thing that we also find is the fact that before the Torah is read, how the Torah goes around the synagogue. And there were many people that actually frowned about that custom. And they said that really it's not respectable. The Torah is something of holy and everybody should come to the Torah. Why is the Torah going to them? And there were certain halachic authorities who ruled against the concept of the Torah going to different people. However, the custom also became that people then approached the Torah and kissed the Torah, not in Corona times, of course, or when people came and approached to kiss the Torah. So therefore it became, and it showed admiration for the Torah, because it does say in Code of Jewish law, one should escort the Torah to its place, back from the bima and back to the home of where the Torah is kept. The custom today is we don't actually follow behind the Torah, but we see it with our eyes. We follow the Torah around the room, as well as the Torah does come to the individual in some cases to give them the opportunity to kiss the Torah. In many synagogues, the only time that they allowed the Torah to go around the whole room was on Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah. Some synagogues have it every single Shabbos. Regardless, one should make an effort to come towards the Torah, even if the Torah is circling the room, that one should come towards the Torah to show the respect to the Torah. The Torah is the holiest item in the synagogue. Wherever the Torah is, that is considered the holiest place. In fact, we do not take the Torah just on a temporary leisure to some place, so there has to be a time that I read from the Torah. And the reading of the Torah gives us and gives the ability for the Torah's sacredness to be shared with all those in attendance. So the concept of the reading of the Torah, as you'll notice as well, there are certain criteria to read the Torah. We can't just take out the Torah and read 1 verse. There's a minimum of 10 verses that have to be read, a minimum of 3 verses per aliyah, per person being called up to the Torah. Again, all this to show the importance and the quality and the sacredness that exists within the reading of the Torah. As mentioned, this is something that Moses started to be able to teach us and achieve the ability to understand The study of Torah is the way that we create an intimate relationship with God. As the first word of the Ten Commandments alludes to, God tells the Jewish people, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzicha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am God who has taken you out of Egypt. One may ask, how can I have a relationship with God? God is great. He's awesome. How can I have a relationship, me, the finite, selfish, materialistic individual, have a relationship with God who is selfless, spiritual, and infinite? Comes the Torah and says, Anochi, the first word Anochi is the acronym of the word. Ono nafshi ksavis yahavis, I am within it written. God is telling every single Jew that when you open up a Torah, when you open up a Chumash, when you open up a book of Torah reading and you study Torah, you're not just studying Torah, you're actually grabbing God by his horn, so to speak. You're having an intimate relationship with God, and that is the value of the study of Torah. So when we get together over here every single day at 1 o'clock and we study Torah together, God is within our presence. We are having that relationship with God, and we become intellectually connected with God, emotionally involved with God, and intimately related with God. So this is the best relationship and godly relationship. And you will see, practice has proven that if every single day you add a few minutes of studying Torah, it brings solace, peace, tranquility in your life. Because Torah is God, as the sages have told us, God created the evil inclination. And as an antidote to the evil inclination, he created the Torah. Torah is the best medicine. Study Torah a day and keep the doctor away. God bless you, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m., lunch break with the Rabbi.